G26. Attraction G26. The Three Gates. In past times, a battle was considered to be a victory when the enemy managed to infiltrate the city from its main entrance. It is interesting to note that the strategic evolution of the bastions was in line with the development, use and potency of gunpowder. Following his experience of war in Rhodes, Grandmaster L'Isle-Adam thought it wise to build bastions as a first measure of fortifying the city. One of his successors, Grandmaster Domedes, reinforced and added to the fortifications. Later, the Grandmasters La Sangle and La Valette refined them further. The main entrance to Birgu is an interesting and remarkable work of military architecture. Instead of one gate, we find that the main entrance is protected by another two gates, which are perpendicular to each other. The three gates are known as the Advanced Gate, Couvre del Porte, and the Main Gate respectively. This structure was very carefully and thoughtfully designed. The reason behind such a design was to surprise the enemy with additional gates if they successfully breached the first gate. Above the main gate leading to the city, a Latin quotation from the Bible was inscribed: "Thou hast overshadowed my head on the time of war." This was to serve as a reminder of the courage and faith displayed by the inhabitants during the Turkish invasion. G27. Heading towards attraction G28. After passing through the Advanced Gate, we find an open space mainly in memory of the Second World War, and this leads us to the next attraction. G28. Attraction G28. The opening behind Advanced Gate.
Birgu was a target for the enemy in the Second World War due to its proximity to the Grand Harbour and the shipyard. Official statistical records confirm that during the first 4 months of 1942, Cottonera and Valletta faced 498 air raids. Moreover, the total tonnage of bombs dropped was more than double the amount released on London in 12 months. The first 8 air raids took place on the very first day after the Italian dictator Benito Mussolini declared war. The dense population of Cottonera was given instructions on what to do in case of any attacks. The instructions, however, did not seem to be well understood, as during the first attack on 11th June 1940, chaos ensued, and only a few managed to find refuge in St. Dominic's Priory or the Church of St. Scholastica. Consequently, it was decided that those who wanted to remain in Birgu had to find lodgings close to these areas. As a result, the need was felt to convert this opening into a small church. Nowadays, this place houses a number of exhibitions. So as to help the population further, there was also the need for area protection officers. Dr. Paul Boffa, born in Birgu, became the first Prime Minister after the war. He was instrumental in the implementation of the recommended area protection officers to improve the people's conditions in Birgu. In recognition to Dr. Paul Boffa, a bust was placed in the tunnel of Advanced Gate. Unfortunately, little progress was made in building further shelters. This led to the evacuation of many people to inland villages. Those who stayed dug their own shelters. The area known as Coronation Garden, named to commemorate the coronation of King George V, had the highest concentration of shelters. This area continued to gain importance after a large shelter dating back to the time of the Knights was found underneath the fortification of St. James Cavalier, not too far from here. One of the doors in this opening leads to a shelter which was recently restored by the local council. Upon entering, you will see that these shelters were all dug with a pickaxe in such a manner that used a lot of careful thought and planning. They were partitioned, having both large and small entrances, and varied considerably in height, some being quite low in places. The shelter was planned in such a way that it had a long and wide main corridor leading on to other rooms. It is interesting to note that the first room was actually used as a maternity room, whilst another was originally intended to be an operating room, but was in fact used as a classroom. You can find a tabernacle sculptured from stone in one of the walls of the shelter. The Blessed Sacrament was kept there for Mass, which was celebrated in the main corridor itself. Many people from this area lived and found refuge in these chambers, who, with great difficulties and without any hygiene, endured days of fear and apprehension.
G29, heading towards attraction H30. Having passed the 3 gates,